We are live with Wrestling Bookmarks. Hey, everybody. Hope everyone out there is having a great night. We're not going to be having a guest tonight. We're going to go do something a little different tonight since, it's the new year and everyone's trying to book the guests. Have been, we want to make sure that we're not bringing the same people on over and over again and monotonizing everything that's happening. But, I thought we'd do something different tonight. I saw an article that was, written recently by Evan Ginsberg. You know him from The Wrestler and various other projects that he's worked on. I think he's working on a book right now as well. But he wrote an article about wrestling at MSG, which I thought was really cool. And the reason that I thought it was cool because he listed his top 5 moments in wrestling that he witnessed at Madison Square Garden. Well, just being able to witness wrestling in general at MSG has to be, a pretty cool experience. I mean, I grew up in the kid of the 80s, watching those that, we would tune to MSG hoping that wrestling would be on, and just seeing the fog in the air and, watching from the view from the rafters. I mean, I just always thought it was such a great product. Anytime it would be from MSG, and usually there was a ton of squash matches, which you wouldn't see from like, other types of, if you'd go live or to go see an event. However, I loved it. And, one of the things that I just thought this article was really cool because I'm jealous because of the matches that he listed that he had a chance to see. And, so I'm going to just put up here on the screen real quick, just because I just want to go over them and just see, if anyone else, maybe has had a chance to watch these matches. So, for instance, let's see. Number 1, he has the Jimmy Snuka jumps off a steel cage against Don Morocco. Okay, I mean, right there, that's one of the most iconic matches for me, and probably in wrestling history. And I don't believe that Jimmy Snuka was the first one to dive off the cage at MSG. I thought it was somebody else, but I can't remember because obviously it was before my time. But just being able to be there and to witness that, and I wonder what that experience was like. I know Mick Foley has mentioned how he was in the audience and that inspired him to become a wrestler. But I wonder what that was like to be in the audience, seeing what you're witnessing, and if you can realize the history that was behind it or how big that moment would be. I know it's probably tough. And I'm sure, Snuka and Morocco probably didn't realize what they were doing, when they did create that piece of history. But I just thought that was such a great match. It's probably one of my it's probably top 5 favorite match for me. I thought that was really cool. He talks about Bruno Sammartino versus superstar Billy Graham. Like most people that are my age, the only thing I remember about Billy Graham was when he had his hip surgery. And, that was an angle that they were talking about, and they, used as part of the storyline. But I don't remember him as a wrestler. And, I know that he was a big guy and muscular and had a great look, but I don't remember what he was like as a wrestler. And, I would have loved to have been able to be there to see Bruno in his prime versus Superstar. I mean, that's got to be a really cool experience. And let's see, number 3. Now, Dynamite Kid versus Tiger Mask in 1982. This was something that really I thought was interesting because I didn't realize that they even wrestled. That Dynamite Kid was even wrestling in the States at this time. So this is a match that I'm going to go search somewhere because I want to find it just to see, what that was like. And I know I think it was in the article, he talks about, Dynamite and Tiger Mask being smaller than maybe the other wrestlers were at the time. But I thought that was also something that was key for me because, I never thought of Dynamite Kid as a small guy. And maybe he was smaller when he first came into, WWF or WWF at the time. But I always thought I thought he was a big guy. I mean, I thought him and Davey Boy Smith were, I thought they were good sized wrestlers. I guess I always thought the tag teams were going to be a little bit smaller until we got the evolution of the tag teams like Demolition and Powers of Pain. And, they were a little bit bigger. But I always thought the tag teams were the high flyers, like the Killer Bees and Strike Force and the British Bulldogs. But to be able to see Dynamite Kid, at that time, I do wonder what that was like. And if Evan had the chance to know, did he know that they were going to be, Dynamite Kid was going to be a star? I mean, was he that good at that time? But that's definitely a match that I have to go check out for myself because extremely intrigued by that one. All right, this one, number 4, so jealous because I do remember watching this on MTV. I think it's when it came out on MTV, I believe. And Roddy Piper attacking Cyndi Lauper in Lou Albano, 1984. I mean, I cannot imagine being in MSG at this time because this was right before WrestleMania 1. And, this is pretty much what kicked it all off. So, Evan, what is it, 40 years ago? Is that what we're talking about? 40 years ago almost? He gets to witness what is arguably the turning point of wrestling, especially for Vince McMahon and the WWF. And what could have been, I mean, just being there that night, I mean, I can't imagine what was going through his head, as Piper's attacking Cyndi Lauper. But that had to be, something really cool. And definitely jealous. And, next time I get a chance to talk to Evan, I definitely want to ask him what that was like, especially with the cops. I mean, the cops were in there. I mean, it was a lot of things going on, and they were really getting into that pop culture, trying to merge the two worlds to, bring wrestling to be mainstream. But yeah, I really enjoyed, reading about that. And then of course he talks about his first time. I remember my first time was New Haven Coliseum, but I don't remember any of the matches. And I wish that I did. And this is pretty cool that he has, the card from, his first time with his dad. I mean, that's what I always think about myself. I always think about, my dad taking me to wrestling matches. And I've talked about it before. One of the first times that we ever went, we went there to the box office early in the day to see if there were any tickets left. And, Randy Savage is there outside the box office. And I'm 8 years old, and I was frightened. I ran back into the car, and my dad, just started laughing. I mean, I don't know if he knew what the deal was at that time or not. I'm sure he did. But, for me, I was obviously scared, but I thought it was a great article. If you guys get a chance, go check it out, prowrestlingstories.com. And Evan does a really good job of talking about his top 5 cards that he got to see at MSG. But some of these names that are on here, I just wish I would have had the chance to see them in person. I mean, Gorilla Monsoon as a wrestler. I mean, I knew him as an announcer. I mean, I knew he was a wrestler, but I never really, I didn't grow up during that time. So to me, thinking about him as a wrestler just is foreign to me. But Killer Kowalski, Haystacks Calhoun. I mean, that must have been awesome to see a mountain of a man. Pedro Morales in his prime, the Valiant Brothers, that just seems like a really cool. I mean, Nikolai Volkov and Freddie Blassie just seems like a really great card. And I think it's really cool that, that Evan has those memories. And I thought it would be interesting. I don't know if this will work, but I did think if we could, let's see if I can do this real quick. I wonder what would happen if we watch one of these matches. I don't know if the cops will knock on my door or something, but let's see.
With us now, ladies and gentlemen, Superfly Jimmy Snuka, who's just about ready to walk out into the arena. Ready to walk into the arena and hear 20-some-odd thousand people scream at the top of their lungs. Another 5,000 over in the Felt Forum. millions on television to see Jimmy the culmination of what has developed, no doubt, to be perhaps the most bitter feud in pro wrestling. You and the magnificent Morocco to be contested in the most grueling type match there is, the steel cage match. Your comments as you contemplate this match tonight.
You know, Vinny, it's one thing I just like to tell the people, and I know they have heard me before, over and over again. But Vinny, there's only one reason that why it has come to this kind of conclusion. Don Morocco, you know it, and I know it. The only reason why we're in this situation, brother, in the steel cage, is because you know what you did. Started off from Blue Albano, and it started back from the past, brother. And it comes on, and now it's up to you. I'll never forget, brother. Nobody forgets deep down inside when somebody does something wrong to them. Because nobody likes to do no wrong. Everybody likes to be right. Don Morocco in the steel cage tonight, brother. Just remember, tonight, yes, I'm sitting right here in the locker room before this cage match, my man. And believe me, anything can happen. And the steel cage can have a broken neck, broken wrist, leg, your ribs, you name it, my man. The steel cage is for one thing, is for true animals that's gonna go in there and prove the point of view, my man. Do you understand that, Don Morocco? This is why this situation has come up to this point. And believe me, to honest God, honest truth, my man, I'm gonna give all I got out there. Believe me, brother, because this is gonna be the problem, the testament that's gonna be down inside this man's heart. Do you understand that? That's right, Don Morocco, and I ain't digging upon you, because it's not you, it's you, Don Morocco, you. Do you understand? Yes, my man, you got me so psyched up. Yes, you have brought the animal and the charisma out of me. So help me God, brother. Yeah, brother, you better shake that microphone, because if you don't, there's gonna be something else gonna be shaking in the ring tonight. And believe me, it's the cage of all, brother, hell, of all hell.
Thank you very much, Jimmy Snuka. Best of luck. With us, ladies and gentlemen, the reigning intercontinental.
I get the feeling that Jimmy Snuka's in a bad mood.
Reigned for some time as Intercontinental Champion, and there's no doubt raised the ire of many an opponent. And tonight, Mr. Morocco, you walk to the ring to face the Hungry Cage in a match that corners you and Snuka, as was said before, with no place to run, no place to hide. Inside the steel cage, Mr. Morocco, this I'm sure you will grant is the most grueling match in professional wrestling today.
So what do you want me to do? You want me to get excited? You want me to cheer? You want me to get everybody all riled up? It's all been done. It's all been said. I've already did it all. I got them here. I got Snuka riled up. I got the people riled up. Everything's coming down. All the preparation's ready. I've been training for months. I'm not a champion, just a day champion. I live as a champion. I eat as a champion. I breathe as a champion. So now we're just talking about preliminaries. We're talking about stretching my legs, stretching my arms, getting a little sweat so I don't pull anything before I first walk into the cage. Because it is a cage, isn't it? And you know what it's like. You don't know what it's like. Nobody knows what it's like. Nobody but me to go out there and stand in front of 22,000 people and feel the hate. Feel everything come down right on top of me. I'm supposed to worry about a cage. I'm supposed to worry about my skin getting torn. I'm supposed to get about my face getting torn, about getting hurt. When I got 22,000 people spitting on me, when this is what I set out for to begin with. To have only the finest come after me. And Superfly is the finest. But just like everybody else, he hasn't been the smartest, has he? And as of yet, because I still have this, he hasn't been.
Let's move forward to the.
Either through the steel door or over the top of the steel cage, 15 foot high, down to the arena floor. The first one to reach the arena floor here at Madison Square Garden is the winner.
want to tell you, it's a funny feeling to enter the ring surrounded with a cage like this because you don't know how you're going to come out of this match. You may come out a winner, but on a stretcher and out of wrestling for good.
Steel cage can definitely terminate your career.
Well, the Mets are winning 4-1.
Checking it out, checking the cage out.
40 almost 40 years ago.
He is ready for this match.
He is psyching himself. He wants Snuka. He is ready.
This crowd will be exploding any moment. Waiting impatiently for the arrival of the one and only, the Superfly, Jimmy Snuka.
It seems like Snuka was way over back then. I mean, like I said, I probably started watching wrestling 6 months later after this. But I mean, was he more popular than Hogan at this point in his career? He must have been. That's not really nice.
When Snuka flies, Morocco dies.
That seems a little excessive, but
Their way now out of the dressing room area. Buddy Rogers leading his man, Superfly, through the ring. Listen to the crowd here at Madison Square Garden. It's a tiger. 22,000 plus on their feet to welcome the Superfly, who is now doing his own little bit of checking to make sure this cage is sturdy.
what were they going to do if it wasn't sturdy? I always wondered that.
Well, if there was somewhere where it's loose, where Morocco could sneak out. Of course, the first one out of the ring is the winner, but it's through the door or over the top.
Never happened in the history of professional wrestling that the steel cage collapsed.
There's always a first for everything.
Absolutely. World Wrestling Federation is bringing you the greatest in professional wrestling tonight, right here from Madison Square Garden, as Don Morocco, like a cage lion, pacing back and forth.
Let's get to the action here.
The only job is to open and close the door to the steel cage upon request.
Very, very dangerous match. As I said earlier, you could be the winner of the match, but end up a loser.
Absolutely, end up in the hospital. Very, very dangerous piece of equipment. Nothing but nuts and bolts, steel and turnbuckles. Things that could tear you wide open and terminate your career forever. Nobody knows it any better than the two men that are inside this 15-foot high steel cage. As Snuka drops a big chop. Morocco calling for the door to be open, but Snuka right on top of him.
This is what you have to be very careful when your opponent is near. When he's near that door, all he has to do is slide right out those steps.
Slide right out.
Snuka's got to get Morocco away from that corner.
Positioning is so important in this type match. Knowing where your opponent is all the time, knowing where you are in relationship to that door. Knowing how long it will take you to get to your opponent should be keeping near the door. How long it will take you to stop him from climbing up that three-tiered turnbuckle and over that top rope to the arena floor.
I used to do
Morocco's head now being banged into the top
tournaments with my LJN action figures, the steel cage,
who's pulling out all this, both men pulling
and I would have Jimmy Snuka beat every single person by jumping off the top of the steel cage.
A knee in the midsection, but a very low knee.
Look kind of low. The area that Superfly is clutching seems to be kind of. He's going to slingshot him here, Pat. Where? Right into the side of the steel cage. What a maneuver by Morocco. As the Superfly got
Really hit.
slingshot. Holy mackerel. He's busted open. Snuka is busted wide open from that last slingshot maneuver by the magnificent one who now climbs half in and half out. He's on the apron.
Look at this. Ripping the face of Snuka against the steel cage. Morocco's got to be careful. Snuka is near the door also. I don't
think Snuka right now is thinking about the door.
Definitely not, man. He's trying to get everything back together again. He's been busted wide open here early in the match. It's thrown in a turnbuckle and he brings up a knee of his own and sends Morocco down.
I mean, Gorilla's voice really helps this match too.
Snuka climbing the rope on the inside. Going up to him, but Morocco's on his feet and stops him. Snuka had ideas about going over the top, Pat, in as bad a shape as he is. Oh, Morocco once again bangs his head into the top of the steel cage.
What is Morocco trying to do?
He's got him up in a half fireman's carry. I don't know what he's trying to do.
It looks to me like he is actually trying to dump Snuka over, knowing that if he does that, Snuka would win the match, but he would be able to wrestle, period.
Snuka had an opportunity to go to the outside, but doesn't have it all together. He could just as easily be on the arena floor right now. But he's lucky to punish the Magnificent One. This is a vendetta. Snuka now climbing down carefully. Didn't get down quick enough. Morocco caught him. Another big right hand. Snuka been hurt much more seriously than Morocco so far in this match. Big slam sends the Fly down. Flat on his back, bleeding profusely now. From maybe the forehead, maybe the eye. Morocco is now busted open. He's bleeding profusely as well. Most men taking their toll as the steel cage takes its toll. Superfly and Morocco in the center of the ring. He's going up to the second turnbuckle. Could be a vicious headbutt. No, he dropped a big forearm right across the throat area. Morocco's in a great deal of trouble.
There's a chance for Snuka to crawl out.
He wants to inflict more punishment, Pat.
What we think and what he thinks is different.
Absolutely. He's waited a long time.
I mean, what a great match, especially
this kind of position.
being there in person. Man, it must have been insane.
The Superfly wants to punish this man for the months and months and months of aggravation and humiliation caused him.
He is hurt, but Snuka.
Superfly with another vicious headbutt. The door's open.
He headbutts him and knocks him out of the ring. That's how Morocco wins. And then Snuka wasn't happy about it.
Morocco must have called for the door to be open as Superfly came with that vicious headbutt. Morocco went upside down backwards.
No, that was an accident that Morocco was able to get out of that.
Unbelievable
Morocco's
situation.
trying to make his way out to the dressing room. He is hurt, but Snuka is coming out of the cage.
Snuka on the floor now. He's got the Magnificent One. He's going to bring him back into the cage. That won't help him. I'm sure this match is over.
This match is over. There's no question about it.
Superfly's going to get some further satisfaction, though, I guarantee you. He's going up for a suplex. Yes, big suplex. Morocco is down and out in the center of the ring. Even though the match is terminated, the Superfly says, as far as I'm concerned, it's not over. He's climbing the outside, going to the top turnbuckle for the Superfly leap. No, wait. He's climbing to the top of the steel cage. I don't believe it. Superfly perched 15 feet high. Oh my God.
I mean, just listening to that crowd is really incredible.
20,000 plus going bananas here in Madison Square Garden as the Superfly flies 15 foot high from the top of the steel cage.
So that's what most people would probably consider one of the best matches of all time. But so that's going to do it for tonight. But yeah, we're going to, me and Kenny are going to work on coming up with a new format for the show, something that could be a little more engaging, compelling, entertaining. And we're going to put our heads together and try to come up with something. We may go on hiatus for a week or two until we figure it out, come up with maybe a different platform. Unless Kenny decides to turn heel on me and start his own show without me. which could ultimately happen. But thanks for guys for coming in tonight, and we'll see you again.